So good day, everyone. Welcome to B2C Tutorials. We want to look at this question on determining the weighted average cost of capital. And to be able to determine the weighted average cost of capital, first and foremost, we need to know what constitutes our capital. So we need to know our equity and debt. So our capital is broadly divided into equity and debt. So we have our equity and then we have our debt. So this is equity and debt. Now, under each one of these, we can subdivide it. So for equity, we can say that we have ordinary shares and preference shares, ordinary and preference. All right. But then for debt, we can actually look at about four items. So we can look at the loan. We would look at bonds. So loans, bonds. And last one, we'll talk about debenture. Debenture. Now, under each one of these subdivided debenture, under each subdivided topic of the capital, this is our capital, this too is birth from capital. So from these, we can actually determine that under ordinary shares, we have a whole lot of formulas that would use to prepare preference shares. So we can ordinary shares, we can look at the dividend-based approach model, the dividend-based approach model. So let me say div model. And we can also look at the capital asset pricing model to determine the cost of capital for the ordinary shares, the CAPM or the CAPM. And then for this, we can also talk about the dividend-based approach model. And then this, we can also look at the format whereby, this ordinary shares, preference shares, and equity dividend. That is how come we are using the dividend approach. Here, we would use the interest approach, but then we will be looking at irredeemable and then redeemable, irredeemable. Now, when we say irredeemable and redeemable is basically paying the interest plus the principal, paying back the interest plus the principal. That is how come that formula is a bit broad compared to the irredeemable. The irredeemable means that paying the interest for a longer period of time. Paying the interest for a longer period of time. So that would only factor what we call the interest over, our formula says the interest over, sorry, the interest over the price of the market price, and that would give us the cost of capital. Now, worst case scenario, there can be an introduction of tax and says that the interest must not suffer tax. So the interest minus multiplied by 1 minus the tax rate or divided by the market price to determine that of our debt. Now, when you come to our preference shares, we are looking at irredeemable preference shares. So it is our dividend divided by the market price of the preference shares. Now, when you come to our ordinary shares, it's the same dividend over the market price, but then using the dividend-based approach. But then we can also have a situation whereby we are expected to have our dividend growing. So that is the dividend yet to grow dividend yet to grow, multiply by 1 plus the growth rate, all divided by the, all divided by, um, all divided by the market price plus the growth rate again. Now, this is in an exceptional case whereby you have to use a dividend growth for the ordinary share computation. But then for the preference share, it's just your dividend divided by the market price. And then when you come to the debt, it's always the interest. That is the irredeemable aspect of all the debt. It is the interest over the market price of the debt. Where there is an introduction of tax, like the question we have here, where there is an introduction of tax, we can actually see that according to the first question, question number one, footnote IV, where there's an introduction of tax, that means that the special interest or the interest must suffer a tax. All right. Now, for the redeemable bonds, redeemable loans or debts, we say that it is the interest, plus a bracket open P minus the net proceeds from disposal. Net proceeds from disposal. The P happens to be the face value, all over the number of years you need to redeem it. Then you divide the entire thing here by the face value again, plus a constant figure of a 0.6, multiplying this time around, it is going to be the net proceeds from disposal or the market value of the debt minus the face value of the debt. Okay, so this is for redeemable. Now, once you are done solving this, your final answer, when there is an introduction of tax, when your final answer, when there's an introduction of tax, must be multiplied by 1 minus the tax rate. So since we are going to solve these questions together, we will see how to apply and then what formula to use going forward. All right. So having revised, let's read our question and then provide a solution to our question for today. All right. So question number one. Ghana Aging Company PLC is financially using the following methods to raise financing. Equity. The company has 20 million ordinary shares of no par value, which are trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange at 3.7 Ghana cedis per share. Full stop. It has an equity beta of 1.15. Preference shares, preference shares. The company has 10 million 7% no par value preference shares issued at 1 cedi, now trading at 0.09. This is the market value. The debt, which is the company has 30 million par value of 8% debentures, which are redeemable at par in 6 years' time. The debenture or the debentures are trading at 101%, 101 Ghana cedis percent. So it's supposed to be 101 Ghana cedis. IV, the rate, the return on the market is 11%. The return on GOG's Treasury Bill, Government of Ghana Treasury Bill is 5%, and the corporate tax rate is 30%. Required. Calculate the weighted average cost of capital for the Ghana Aging Company PLC. For the Ghana Aging Company PLC. Having read this question, first and first, it tells you that before we can do our weighted average cost of capital, we need to know the individual cost of capital. So according to I, it is talking about equity. So we solve it according to the question's requirement. To be able to solve our weighted cost of capital, we have identified equity, which is basically an ordinary share. So if equity is an ordinary share, it is denoted by K and E. Now, luckily for us, this question did not give us dividend to do that, but then it has given us what we need to determine the K, E. And then here, we'll be using a capital asset price and model formula to solve this question. All right, so it says that the return on the market plus beta multiplying the whole return on the market, return on the market minus risk-free. I have interchanged your formula. So it is not return on the market, it is rather risk-free, risk-free, risk-free. So this is supposed to be risk-free, multiplying the items right in the bracket. So according to our question, Ivan, it told us some market return is 11% and the risk-free is 5%. So quickly we substitute it and then we have 5% for risk-free. Treasury bill is the same as risk-free plus beta here was in I, which is 1.15. 1.15 multiplying the return, which is 11% minus 5%. 11% minus 5%. When you put this on the calculator, you should be able to determine the KE, required rate of return or cost of capital. So this should give us 5% plus 1.15 bracket open 11% minus 5%. And this is going to give me 11.9%. 11.9%. Okay. Having done this, we are not done. We have only done the cost of equity. Now, the next thing is to do for the cost of preference share, because that was II, the cost of preference share. And then note that here, I've always said that dividend for preference shares will not be mentioned, but it is left for you to multiply the percentage by the number of shares or the value. So here, we need to find the value of the shares. The value of the shares in the question is going to be the number of shares of 10 million multiplied by the amount per share, which is 1 cedi. So it's multiplying by 1 cedi. That is telling us the value of the shares. 1 cedi. So that is actually going to give us 10 million cedis. All right. So if that is the case, 10 million cedis, then what is our dividend? Our dividend is the percentage of 7% multiplied by the value. So dividend is basically dividend here is equal to uh, preference share percentage, preference shares percentage multiplied by the value. Now, this value, when you are given the balance sheet, you can easily pick the value from the balance sheet. Okay, so the value here was 7% of the value of 10 million cedis. So we have solved our problem here. So what is 7% of 10 million? 7% of 10 million. All right, so that is 700,000. So Ghana cedi 700,000. So this is our dividend. forgive my writing there. I use what do I call it? 7,700,000. I use my keyboard, so you wouldn't have it accurate as using a touch screen. Okay, so having solved for the dividend, the formula for finding the KP is dividend over the market price of dividend. So here we said our dividend is 700,000 cedis. So 700,000 cedis. If that is the case, 700,000 cedis, if that is the case, we are dividing this by the market value. So let's go back to II. What is the market value? It says now traded at 0.91. So 0.91, 0.91. Okay, okay. Sorry. So let's come back again and work the dividend. We need to know the dividend per share. So we are going to divide the entire dividend value by the 10 million shares. So we would have our dividend to be 0.7. 0.7. So dividend shouldn't be the total value, but then it should be dividend per value. So in other way, we can directly multiply the percentage by the amount per preference shares. But then the best way is to find the total value and divide by the number of shares to get you the dividend per share. So the dividend per share here would have been 0.7, would have been 0.7, because if you divide 700,000 by 10 million, that is going to give you 0.7. So what is 0.7 divided by 0.91 times? Sorry, so my network went out and I had to go back and come back again. So I would say that we find for dividend per share divided by the market price of the preference share, which is 0.91, multiplied by 100%. So 0.7, 0.7 divided by 0.91. That is, what is 10 million of 0. So it's 0.07, sorry, 0.07. So at the end, we should have 7.69, 7.69. Please, let's take it again. 10 million, 700,000 divided by 10 million should give us what I refer to as a dividend of Ghana cedis 0.7, 0.07, 0.07, 0.07. So let me write it well. 0.07, 0.07. So dividend per share would help us find the cost of capital per share. So 0.07 divided by 0.91 multiplied by 100%, which is 7.69, and that will be for preference share. Now let's go to that of our other one, which is the III, which happens to talk about redeemable. So this formula is applicable in solving the III. So we'll repeat that same format again. So let's repeat that same format again. All right, so I. To find out of the redeemable. So this is redeemable. There's a debt, redeemable debt, RD. So KRD, cost of redeemable debt. Cost of redeemable debts, KRD, is equal to the interest plus what I call the face value of the debt minus the net proceeds from the debt, which is also called the market value of the debt, all over the number of years mentioned in the question, divided by what I call the face value of the debt plus a constant of 0.6 multiplied by the market value of the debt. Sorry. I have just started solving it. The market value of the debt, NPD, all minus the face value. Now, the face value of the debt is always 100. Now, once you are done with this, it must suffer what we refer to as the tax. It must suffer the tax of 1 minus t. So don't be in a rush to write this one as your final answer. So let's go and find that one particular items that are going to come in here. So look at it. It says that the company has 30 million par value of 8%. So to know the interest to pay, it is the 8% of the number of or the amount you took for the loan. So you took 30 million par value of loan. So if you took 30 million, what is 8% of 30 million you are supposed to pay? That is 24,240,000, 2,400,000. If I'm not mistaken, 2,400,000. That is your interest. That is the interest you are supposed to pay. But then you are working with the interest rate. So the interest you're supposed to pay is supposed to be the interest rate multiplied by whatever that you have here. So let's use our interest. If we should use our interest, we have 8% par value. 8% physically supposed to be 8 multiplied by 240,000. Okay. I'll come back at it. So the par value is always 100. And the NPD is the market value that is written here as 101. So 101 divided by the number of years, which is 6 years. In the question, see 6 years there. Number of years is 6 years. All divided by, all divided by our market value of, our par value of 100 plus a constant of 0.6 multiplied by 101 minus 100. Brackets close, all brackets close, multiply by 1 minus t. The t happens to be the tax, and tax was 30%. 30%. Okay. Now, having said that, you do the items in the brackets first. So you first complete the numerator. So first tackle 100 minus 101, all divided by 6 plus the 8%. So this should be 8 because it is going to be 8 multiplied by your par value of 100. 8 multiplied by your par value of 100. And so 8% multiplied by the par value of 100 should give you 8. So we have 8. So What is 100 minus 101 divided by 6 plus 8 should give us a figure. Then the figure divided by 100 plus 0.6 multiplied by 101 minus 100. That should also give us another figure, which I can write and run it off to the nearest whole number. But then it is going to be 0.077866. So you can write the entire thing you see on your calculator, 86613. But then all this should multiply your tax of 1 minus 30% should have given us 0.7. So whatever you have multiplied by a 0.7, a 0.7. So these times a 0.7 should give me 0.05, 0.05, 4, 5, 1. Run this to percentage is to multiply by 100%. And that is going to give me a 5 point. To the nearest percentage is going to be 5.45%. 5.45%. All right, so these are the items we needed. The KD. I also need the KP. That's KP. And lastly, I'll need the KE. That is the individual cost of capital. Now, when you are done, we can come and determine their total market value. And then we say their total market value is determined by multiplying their nominal value by the amount current market price. So their nominal value by the current price. Sorry. Okay, so their market value by their current price is. All right, so this right here. We find their market value. So you can say you can actually insert a table. You can actually draw a table so that you'll be free. It helps you a lot and makes the work quite easier for you. So the table says, there are three costs of capital. There are three capital. Once I draw the table, forgive my drawing. Uh, so, so 1, 2, so I can start from details. It's a formula work. So all you needed is the details. This is for equity. The next will be for preference shares. Pref. And the last one is for the debt. We are finding just their market value debt. So the formula says that we need to multiply something by something and divide it by something, and then something will give us the something. So what is the something and something we are talking about? That is what I am going to write next for you. All right, so look at it. I'm writing that soon. Okay, so its nominal value multiplied by current market price divided by block. So in our question under equity, what is our nominal value? Our nominal value is the one with no par value, and it is 20 million. So we have our 20 million written here nicely. Now, what is the market price divided by a block? Don't forget that equity and preference shares do not deal in block. So it is going to be just multiplied by the market price. How about preference share? Preference shares is 10 million multiplied by the market price of 0.09, 0.91, sorry, 91. Then you come to the debt. The debt basically would be the value, market value, the nominal value, sorry. So where can we find its nominal value? Its nominal value is the 30 million. The 30 million multiplied by its market price is the 101 divided by a block of 100. So 101 divided by the market value, the block of 100. So we are expected to multiply A by B before we can get C. So C is equal to A multiplied by B. A multiplied by B. So A is 20 and 37. So what is 20 by 37? 20 million. 20 million by 3.7, sorry. That is 74 million. 74 million. Okay. If that is the case, what is 10 million multiplied by 0.91? And that is going to give us 9.1 million. 9.1 million. 9.1 million. Okay. If that is the case, how about this? What is 0.101 divided by 100? Should give me 1.01. So 30 million multiplied by 1.01 should give me 30.3 million. 30.3 million. Okay. Having done this, we need to know their total. So we need to sum them up. We need to know the total of 7 million, 9.1, and 30 million. That is it. So the total for the three would be 30.3 plus 9.1, 9.1 plus 74 should give us 113, 113.4 million. So that is the total. Now, this would easily help us find our Wacc, because Wacc says that in this three format we have been given, sorry, to be able to find our Wacc for equity, basically multiply the cost of capital for equity by its market value. So this is the market value for equity, E. This is the market value for preferred share, CP. And this is the market value for the venture, CD. And then the three of them put together. So it says multiply KE by E over, sorry, it's multiplied. Multiply it by E over, then bracket open, E plus P plus D. Then you close bracket and you do same for P, the P. So you go and pick the cost of capital of P. So K, say K, P, multiply by P all over the same E plus P plus D. Bracket close. And then the last one would have to do with the debt. The debt would have been cost of irredeemable debt, KRD, KRD, irredeemable debt, after tax, RDAT, all multiplied by debt over still the E plus P plus D, bracket close. Once you're done, you add all of them together, so D. Now, this E is what you have determined here. This P is what you have determined here. And then this D is what you have determined here. Now, when we added all of them, we had 113, and that is the denominators. So you are just left to go and pick their cost of capital that you solved, and then come and multiply them by 74 divided by the total of 113.4. So let us do that together. Sorry. Let us do that together and know what we are looking out for. So what is KE? What is the cost of capital? Well, 11.91, 11.9%. This is 7.96, 11.9, and that is 7.69. And that of the irredeemable was 5.45. Okay, so we basically come here and then write the 11.91, 11.9, sorry, 11.9, 11.9, 11.9 multiplied by the E is 74 million divided by the total that we found here as the 113.4. 113.4. That is for E. Let's do for P. P, we had 7.69, 7.69.69 multiplied by 9.1 or divided by 113.4. Bracket close, plus we had that of the cost of capital of the debt to be 5.45%, multiplying 30.3 over 113.4. So you can try this on the calculator, and then whatever answer that you have determined for the weighted average cost of capital. So we are going to do it bracket by bracket. So I have 11.9%, multiplied 74 divided by 113.4, and that is going to give me 0.07. If I bring the percentage here, if I should bring the percentage here, but if I should omit the percentage, that is giving me 7.77, 7.77% plus the next one happens to be 7.69 multiplied 9.1 over 113.4. That is going to give me who's checking that for me? Okay. That is eventually going to give us a decimal of say 0.6, 0.61617% Then you do the other one, which is 5.45, 5.45 by 30.3 over that, and that's going to give you 146 plus 1.46%. 6%. When you add all up, you have solved your weighted average cost of capital. So 7.77 plus 0.617 plus 1.46. Sum up together is 9.85, 9.85, 9.85%. And that is our weighted average cost of capital. This is our final answer for question number 1. If you have a question, do contact us and then I'll walk you through again. Thank you for joining and have a lovely evening. Bye bye.